So hi everyone, my name is Sean. I'm the founder and CEO of Insect Feed Technologies, and I'm not sure whether you guys heard of Insect Feed Technologies. Probably not. We are one of those small startups that I think Rebecca mentioned, unknown, small, not yet resourceful yet, not a lot of resources yet, but thankful for this opportunity to share. So basically what we do, at our core is that we are an insect technology company that takes food waste and transform it into a sustainable insect protein and insect oil for animal feed. And whatever the insects eat and they poop out is actually insect fresh, which is actually your organic fertilizer that we're actually currently using for a lot of our farms in Singapore. So, the vision, insects to feed the world. So I recently just came back from the Insect World Conference in Canada, so I'm still suffering from some jet lag. And just thought of these points, when I was flying back, right? And I was just looking at the date, and it was exactly 2 years and 2 days ago, I left Enterprise Singapore to be as what we call an insect farmer, right? Yeah. Thank you. And it all started with a vision that I had one day, that insects will feed the world. But I'm not here today to share with you why or how we should be insects. That's for another day. And I don't think we have any insects here on the menu today. So if you happen to see a cockroach or a fly on your table, that's not part of the menu. Yeah. So in any case, I'm here today at the invitation of Lawrence and Datuk Chris, to share how IFT struggled, survived, and emerged stronger from the pandemic. In fact, we started during the pandemic. Right. So I'd like to use this chance to again thank the Concealers team, Lawrence, Datuk Chris, for having us here today. I recently had a chat, with my head of commercial, Marcus in Canada. Right, so I can't put his face here, so I'll just put his name out there so you guys can contact him, if you have any opportunities for collaboration. Right, and I asked him, how he thought I was faring as the founder and CEO of IFT. After all, we have been operating for 2 years, went through a lot of ups and downs. And he has a lot of experience, in the startups team, working with many startup founders previously. So his advice or his sharing was actually very apt. And interestingly, he brought up 3 criteria on which he thinks how startup founders should be evaluated on, as these factors would determine whether the startup will remain afloat and remain resilient in the face of adversity or sink without a sound. Right? So that's what most founders get into, right, after a while. And I thought it was pretty apt to share this today, as I reflected that my last 2 years of my entrepreneurship journey as a founder have always been a struggle to do well in these 3 things. The very 3 things that Marcus mentioned, startup founders should be accomplishing, right? So what are these 3 things? Right, struggles of every startup, 找钱, 找人, 找方向. So for our international guests, it means finding money, finding talent, and finding direction, right? So I believe any startup founder here today, or even SME companies that have been established for some time, will find this very relating and have their own story to tell. I'll briefly share mine today, and also share how having a strong vision became a guiding light for us to find in this journey. So first one, 找钱. This is the most important thing, right? Most people will agree. So when I first started IFT, Insect Feed Technologies, I barely had money in my bank, having only worked for almost 2 years as a fresh graduate. So you know how much Enterprise Singapore pays, not a lot. Just kidding. Right? So the first natural thing to do was to find money, right? But how do you find money when you have almost nothing to offer, right? So, you cast a vision. In fact, an even bigger, compelling vision, right? A vision that precedes what others might have casted before. A vision creates something out of nothing. And that's why it's important. It turns impossibility into reality. For us, it was not just starting about insect farm. What we wanted to achieve was far beyond that. Our vision was to change the entire food production system to be more circular, more sustainable, and more secure with insects at its core. That's what we wanted to achieve, not just in Singapore, but on a global scale. I remembered having to speak to countless people, government officers, government agencies, accelerators, investors, everyone I met, to tell them about the insects that we're doing. It's not some housefly, it's not some cockroach farm that we're going to do, but something that was actually going to benefit society, create impact, and solve the challenges of today and tomorrow. And I'm pretty sure the first thought that went through most people's heads, when we tell them I was doing insect farming, right, was, they'll think, aren't you just farming insects? Are you farming some ant? Are you farming some, cockroach or some cockroach to feed pets and whatsoever, right? But that's why I have a job, right? My job is to share our vision, and that's how we started, and that's how we actually got funding, and that's how we got funding from various people and stuff like that. So that's how we 找钱 using the vision, right? So the next point, I wanted to share is very 找人, right? If I learn anything in my journey, dream teams don't randomly assemble; they are built. Someone once told me that leaders who wait forever for a dream team will eventually have nightmares. So I thought it was quite a good takeaway, right? So what do we do, or I do instead? We started with whatever we had. We started with the best we could find, or make them the best. Interns, fresh graduates, mid-careers, elderly. And when we had nothing else to attract them, it was and has always been sharing that purpose-driven mission, the vision that we started from. Insects to feed the world. And people come and go, and that's okay, because what we wanted were people who stayed true to the same vision of what we wanted to achieve. As of today, we have almost 10 full-timers still actively recruiting, right? So if anyone here is looking to change industries, looking to have a hands on some insects, you can look for me after this, right? Next, finding direction, right? Many times along our journey, given the challenges we face on an everyday basis, it's so easy to be negative. And it's a human default kind of function, right? People are always negative. Something's going to go wrong and stuff like that. That's okay, right? It's easy to complain about everything we lack. And what seems like an impossible vision, a vision that seems too far away, sometimes just feels too far away, right? All too often, I hear things like, this can't be done. We can't use this food waste to feed this insect. The flies are not mating. I get that problem as well. Yeah. So we can't get this food license because the government don't allow that. It's not safe. So then it's not impossible to build. It's not impossible to use insects on a big scale. What if he flies out? What happens? Who's going to clear the insects? Are you going to catch the insects? Right. So this is what exactly I get from an everyday basis. We're talking to different governments, different policy makers. Right. But that's why I still have a job now. Right. As the founder and CEO. My job has always been to find a way in the direction that guides us to our vision, even when we can't see a way. Right? So sometimes I think like I'm the little worm, struggling to find every corner we can move just to move in the direction that we need to. Right? For a new nascent industry that is often misconceived, it's all about knocking on people's doors. You'll see me trying to find the government officer in charge of this policy, that policy. And in Singapore, the problem is having too many government agencies, having too many different officers looking at different things. Right? And sometimes it's just so hard to find. Right? And thankfully, my past experience in the civil service as enterprise Singapore officer made it a little bit easier. Right? Sometimes you just go straight to the top, right? Convince them, and sometimes things just happens miraculously. Right? So you see me like an evangelist, running people to what we are trying to do, breaking down barriers, asking why not, why can't we use this? And sometimes we get an occasional yes, let's try this. And that's what my job is. To share our vision, to find direction, finding a way to our vision. Right? So vision always precedes money, people, and direction. So that's my point of sharing all this, right? Because this is exactly how we started off, and this is exactly how we move. And I think too many times I hear of leaders or startup founders that have had the chance to mentor, forgetting that vision precedes money, people, and direction. Vision precedes resources, and resources follow vision. Sometimes all you have is vision, but that's all you need to get started. And that's how we got started, and that's how we will continue to move forward. Today, we're one of the leading insect companies, technology companies in Southeast Asia, having recently represented Singapore as part of the Enterprise Singapore delegation for the Insects to Feed the World 2022 conference in Quebec, Canada. In the next few months, we'll be actually attending a few conferences. In fact, we just got invited to be part of the Singapore delegation for COP27 in Egypt this year. So it's a very good thing, that startups are actually getting more and more known for the business model that we're trying to create, the impact we're trying to create, and basically the change we're trying to create in the whole system. So it's not about legacy issues now, it's about changing these systemic issues and really making change forward. And this is just the beginning, right? If you think about what we're trying to do here, it just goes beyond what we're trying to do locally. As a global citizen, we're working with regional partners towards the development, the attainment of our UN Sustainability Development Goals. And this shows that we're just far beyond an insect company, right? We're an insect technology company that integrates with our value chain of partners to create systemic change towards a more circular and sustainable food production system. With the strong partnerships we have cultivated across our value chain, especially some with whom we are present here today, we're really excited to announce our new endeavors. So together with our partners, I'm confident that Insect Feed Technologies is well positioned to take on the challenges such as food security and food sustainability we have as a people in Southeast Asia. Because we are not alone. Singapore is always dependent on the partners that we create, the partnerships that we create with the people around us in this region. With our vision as our North Star, we'll continue to push the frontiers of our knowledge and innovation in the sector and take on the mental responsibility to reduce food waste, support food security, and create good jobs for economies within our area. So with that, I end my sharing and I hope to speak to you guys after the session. Thank you.